All right, welcome to episode number 2 with Becky Wilson of West Hawaii Property Management. We are here at her office in Kona, and I'm just going to have Becky introduce herself and tell us what she does, and the floor is yours.
All right, thanks for having me, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks for doing this.
I'm Becky with, as Ryan said, West Hawaii Property Management, and I do long-term residential rentals.
Okay. Is that, so we're on the west side of the Big Island, so is it primarily, what's kind of the service area that you work in?
Typically, Captain Cook is about as far as I'll go south, all the
Okay.
way to Waimea.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you say Captain Cook, it's just because I know it's like I'll see listings, which is like Captain Cook, and then it's almost like Ocean View.
Uh,
What
so
what's like the
the farthest that I have is about 2 miles past Choice Mart.
okay?
So that's about as
Good.
far as I'll
Yeah,
go.
yeah. Especially with the traffic trying to get down
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
So is it so I kind of know the story a little bit, but how long have you've been in property management for a while, and then you've done long term for a couple years now?
Yeah. So technically, I've been in property management since 2003.
Okay.
Long time.
Yeah.
I took a break for a
Yeah.
little bit, kind of explored other things.
Yeah.
I have an accounting background,
Okay.
so I always tend to come back to that.
Yeah.
And then in 2012, I did bookkeeping for a vacation rental company.
Okay.
They did vacation rental and long term. So
Okay.
I did the bookkeeping for all of that. And then about 3.5 years ago, I ventured out of all of that, and it's just long term property
Nice.
management.
And accounting is like super important with long-term stuff because you have like you obviously you're collecting all the rent, and then you have in Hawaii we have like GE tax, right? So you've
Right,
got
right.
that. And I think one of the big things that people, at least you can see where if you don't have the accounting background is you can have the properties, but you start to lose track of you have you have all these different finances.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it is very important.
What's the like how many properties you guys have now, and is it a mix of like single family? Is it like I know Oahu has a lot more like apartment buildings,
Mhm.
so we don't have a lot of that. But what's like the primary property type?
So currently, I have 70 properties.
Okay, awesome.
70 properties. I have I have a good amount of apartments and condos, but I have a lot of houses as
Okay,
well, and a good chunk of high end houses.
okay,
I do have one property that is 5 unit studios, full
nice.
5 unit studio complex that
Okay,
one gentleman owns, and so I manage that whole property.
nice.
That's the only whole apartment or condo
Yeah,
complex that I manage.
and we just don't have that many. Like
Right.
it's like Oahu is like I have a friend who will like he'll send me like listings of property or multifamilies that will come, and it's like five to, or four and up, units. And here it's like we have Hamburger Hill
Ex-
behind us, and like,
Yep.
and I guess they built some new stuff in Waikoloa, but we don't have a ton
That,
of that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's that was one thing when I moved here a long time ago in 2002 that was a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because back a lot of places on the mainland there's a apartment complex, they have a leasing office. You
Yeah.
walk in and it's all owned by one company, and you fill out the application, and if you're approved, then you get to move in if they
Y-
have a vacancy.
Yep.
So it's a lot different
Yeah.
here.
And I think that can lead us into one of the things, if you live here, is how hard it is to find a place to live. So,
Yeah.
so here it's, I mean, I know I checked your website today, but there's almost no vacancy because
Yeah.
there's such a demand. So,
Yeah.
how has that been kind of navigating that?
Well, if you saw the one thing that was on my website this morning, it's not there anymore.
It's gone.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not there anymore. It's I had that particular unit up for, and it is a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, fully furnished condo
Okay.
on Ali'i Drive,
Nice.
and within the few days that I had it listed, I mean the amount of response and the inquiries was just unreal.
Wow.
So,
And do you like do you put it on? I know we have a Facebook
mhm,
page here,
mhm.
Kona long-term rentals. I think my friend is actually the admin,
Oh,
Sam
okay.
Chouse, for the page. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have that page, but how do you? I know you put it on a website. Is there a like a way to market it
Yeah,
or?
so on my website, I am part of the Facebook rentals pages, and if I
Okay.
see anybody that is posting that they need something, if
Yeah.
I have something that fits their criteria, I'll reach out to them
Nice. Okay.
and just let them know,
Yeah.
and give them details. Otherwise, there's my software shoots out the advertising to a lot of different sites: Zillow, Hunt.com, Apartments.com, Rentals.com.
Okay.
It shoots it out to about, I believe, 40
Nice.
40 different sites.
Okay.
So
and
there's a lot
yeah,
of places that
and
it's advertised
if you're,
on.
I remember when in 2019 when I was looking for a place. When you're looking for a place, you are on all the sites. It's like
Yeah.
refresh,
Yep.
refresh,
Yep.
refresh. So,
Yep.
what's the software that you use now?
It's AppFolio.
Okay, that's a big
AppFolio.
one. Yeah.
It's
Do you like it?
now I do, yes.
Yeah.
before it's come a long way.
Okay.
I started using it in 2012.
Okay.
So yeah, it's definitely come a long way.
Yeah.
Before I hated it. I would say probably in the last 4 years, I've actually really
Enjoyed
learned
it.
to like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Has this, I mean, I guess it's partial. Like you've learned it, but then also like 2012 to 2024, software gets way better. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it's gotten better too.
It's gotten much better.
Yeah.
Much better. The things that they can do is it just really makes my life easier.
Yeah. Which is key.
Yes.
So I guess I kind of want to go in two directions because we were with this, but what, so from like I guess from your day to day, so AppFolio, at least the stuff I've read online, is it helps a lot with like, and transparency. I rent with Becky's company, so when I have a maintenance request, it's super easy, and I try not to. I like to call Becky, but I'm sure like it's easier for me to go online, and I can just literally take a picture, put in if there's something that's wrong, and then do that. So what's like the main benefit? Is it, like, because I know maintenance is everyone who thinks of owning a property is like, what's the, or being a property manager, what's the maintenance like?
So the main thing that I like about it is it makes it easy for all my tenants to pay rent.
Okay.
So my track record is with 70 units. I have one person that comes in and pays with a cashier's check every month.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Mainly everybody pays online, and that makes it rather, you have to
Yeah.
go to the bank 7 times a month,
Yeah.
or the first week of the month actually.
Yep.
So that, and then definitely the maintenance, it's all just streamlined.
Okay.
So they you submit a maintenance request, and I open it, I review it, I call the tenant if there's any questions, assign it to a vendor, and,
Yeah.
and that's that.
Yeah, and most of the
So-
time, I mean, obviously, if like washing machine or like a pipe breaks, you're gonna
Yes.
call your building
Then call me.
manager
Yeah,
or call
or-
Becky
yes,
or
yes.
definitely both. But like, if it's something simple, right, and it's still fixed timely, but it's not. It's nice that you don't have to. You can have it all, and I'll switch with that. You can have it all logged, which I think is really important because one of the things in real estate is just, you don't want to get sued and you don't want to be liable, and you also want, like, having that written paper trail is huge. Even stuff I've done, I know, you might have a phone conversation, but let's have that again in email.
In email form, exactly.
Yeah.
And if you notice in AppFolio, sometimes I'll text you and it doesn't come from the 808 phone number.
Yep.
It's an odd number. It's all through AppFolio.
Okay.
So it's all trapped and stuck in
Yeah.
your tenant file.
Yeah, it'll just say Ryan Leese. This is what he said.
Yep.
And
Yep. And for obviously nobody wants to get into any legal issues, but I can also download that and it'll print
Yeah.
the entire text string out.
nice.
So,
And that's
and it's all date stamped and everything.
yeah, and that's huge for I mean, I don't own a rental property, but if I did, it'd be nice to know like you have that, that transparency, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, we spent $700 last month. Here's exactly what it was spent
What
on.
it is.
Yeah.
And I know that's a lot of the owners like that fact for the maintenance. When I close out a work order, I attach the bill.
Okay.
So they can see exactly what the tenant submitted in the maintenance request, and then they can also see exactly what the vendor said.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And
so
who
they click, one click, and you see it all.
can see it all? Yeah. Do you feel like from a communication standpoint, are you mainly able to communicate with owners and tenants through AppFolio, or is it on the phone? What's your main?
Typically with tenants all the time in AppFolio.
Okay.
It's a little different for the owners. I would rather just send them have a phone conversation with
Yeah.
them if it's major.
Yeah.
A lot of times, 9 out of 10 times, they're either going to reply with an email or a text message.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
So,
what's your so I know we know a lot of single family, and obviously we have one that's doing a 5 unit, but from like a buyer's persona, I guess, or customer persona, is most people buying, did they live here and leave, and they were like, hey, I should keep renting it because property values are going up and rent's in huge demand? Do they buy a second home as an investment, or is it kind of a combination of a couple of
it's
things?
kind of a combination of both.
Okay.
Both. I do have a lot of people that have owned that they bought with the intentions of moving in, and then it didn't happen right away, and so then they rented it for a couple of years until they were in the position that they could finally move here.
Okay.
And vice versa. I've had a couple of people that lived here, and then for various reasons have to move to the mainland.
Yep.
And they not ready to quite sell it yet, so they're trying renting it out for a little bit to see how that goes.
Yeah. What has been like the rental curve and price of rent? Has it continued? Has it been steady? Has it gone up?
Obviously, we all know with COVID it went way up, and it's kind of it hit a certain period, a certain point, and it's just kind of leveled out.
Yeah.
It hasn't really started to decrease.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I don't think it's gonna go down necessarily. I think that I was talking with someone about this, and I am not an economist at any level, but there's only a certain, so you have your home price, right? And then the people who live here, if they're working in this economy, or if they're working remotely, you can only support a certain amount of rent, right? So it's there's that fine line where that is. But on the flip side, I see a lot of people who complain about rent prices, but also have not looked at how much a mortgage costs and how much an HOA costs. I mean, even the building I live in, don't quote me on this exact number, but I think the HOA is over $800 a month. So then if you added a mortgage on that, it's
and you think, I'm going to pick up this condo for a really good price. So you get it, and you really only have a mortgage for a few years, but technically you're going to have equal to what you were paying because of the HOA fees.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of that is, as people learn, right, we can probably talk about that a little bit, but of the maintenance here, because we don't have cold weather, but oceanfront, or even the place I live in is not oceanfront, but it's very close to it. You have salt, that can affects everything. It hits your bathroom or kitchen faucets and everything. It hits the windows, hits everything. Yeah. So eventually, it gets more expensive than people realize.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You're right. The salt water with the windows and the.
Yeah, I remember I think I was doing something with vacation rentals, and it was the slider wasn't that old, and you look at the tracks, and it's what happened?
Exactly.
Looks like a flood.
Exactly.
First, what is the favorite part about your job, or not job, but your being a business owner and doing what you do?
I like working for myself.
Yeah.
That's obviously the best part, but I like being able to find people rentals. I like being able to help people and give them places to live.
Yeah. Becky helped me a lot, just for the record. And then what is I won't say the least favorite, but the hardest part about just running a property management company?
Sometimes the hardest part is, I'm going to say two things. Two things. Hardest part is when an owner decides to sell, or they decide to move in, and I have to displace a tenant.
Gotcha.
That's never fun. That's never fun. Or, and then on the other side of that is when it's time, that I need to raise rent, and then I have very angry tenants.
Yeah.
That's never fun either.
No. And it's balancing that relationship, because you're in the middle.
Yep.
It's and unlike a leasing company on the mainland where it's hey, we have this other building down the street. You don't necessarily, you might have someone in a 1-bedroom condo and you're like, I don't have anything that matches that. So
Yeah, exactly. And if a tenant is happening to get displaced because of any reason, a sale, the owner's moving back, I try to give them the first option to move into something that I would have available.
okay,
Yeah.
nice.
So sometimes that doesn't work,
Yeah.
but a lot of times it actually does. So
Yes. What's like the kind of your process for making sure everyone's a good fit?
for the owners or the tenants?
Maybe both, but for
Okay.
the tenants is what.
So for the tenants, I definitely require everybody to see the unit in person.
Okay.
And that gives me a chance to also meet with them and get to know them,
Nice.
to get to know them. And then obviously the next step is the application process.
Okay.
So,
And then from a like with an owner, like what's like, because I know everyone when you're like have a business, you're like I just want to work with people,
yeah.
but then you get to 70 properties and you're like, hey, we just don't jive.
I
You know?
have I have a sheet. I have a sheet of paper that every time a potential new owner calls, I go down the list. I ask them questions about the property, if it's ever been a rental, and there are a few personal questions that I have on the list as well.
Nice.
So that it just kind of gives me a chance to talk to them, and kind of get to know them a little bit before making any sort of decision. And then I also like to look at the properties before I say yes or no.
Okay, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah, definitely. There's been a couple of occasions where I can't do that because, it's currently with a property manager and they
Yeah.
don't want to.
like alert.
Yes. Yes, so there has been a couple of occasions where I haven't, but that's definitely, and if it's, and it depends on the circumstances. I don't say yes to everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm very strict. If I know it's going to be a headache right off the bat, I'm going to save myself the headache.
Yeah. Well, and especially going, even if you can't go inside, sometimes even if you can do a drive-by and just be
Yes.
like, how's the whole building been taken care of? Because
Yeah.
if certain things stand out to you, especially when you go inside and I feel like a smell of a certain place, like it's, is there mold? Can you smell
Exactly.
water? Like,
Yeah.
and you don't want to involve yourself or tenants,
In
in
that.
that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, well, any last advice for anyone who has a property, who wants to rent it? Like, any key tips
Yeah,
to be
come see
successful?
me.
Come see Becky.